Hey guys, and welcome to another First Impressions video, the video game series in which we look at a recently released game and I give you my first thoughts and impressions on it. Today we're looking at Sephonie, which is a open world discovery with some match 3 in it. It's a bit of a mishmash and it doesn't really follow any sort of logical story. It does follow a story, but it doesn't really make much of any sense. And that's a theme that goes throughout the entire game, but we'll get into that when I look at the gameplay. As always, we'll look at the options first, and then we'll jump into the actual gameplay itself, and I will try and cover as much of it as possible. I will say straight from the bat that I don't think this game is worth the price point. I actually thought it was an early access game and was very, very surprised to find out that it was actually a full release. That changed my outlook on the game quite a bit because it's simply not good enough in its current state. It needs a lot of work on it to make it a usable and good title, but we'll get into that. Let's look at the options first though. Alright, so the options. Straight off the bat, the biggest issue that I've got is that there is no mouse support in the menus. It's just controller or the keyboard only. And that makes it incredibly awkward to do anything with, especially when they haven't actually bothered to separate the options into sections like we have come to be used to. What you get is a very long bar. The options are done in such a way that it's quite overwhelming for a lot of people. It's just a list. And not everything is named in the way that you would expect it to be named, which is a bit weird. Also, the sprint camera snap here, it is best to have it on, but on or off, it feels awful and janky. It doesn't feel good to run around, but you'll see that in the gameplay. But they need to have some way of customizing that or making it so that it's not just on or off, because it doesn't feel good on and it certainly doesn't feel good off. Your controls, apparently you can rebind them. You've got auto sprint on or off. You might as well switch that on because you're going to be sprinting everywhere anyway. You've got your separate dash speed, so it's good that they've got all these options here, but again, it's a lot, and the options menu doesn't really inspire anything. Your graphics settings, woefully under here. There's just not enough. For all the other options they've got for everything else, they've really slacked on the display and the graphical settings. Now, this game isn't going to tax your system by a long shot. It doesn't seem that very high in graphical fidelity, but it would be nice if they had just more. And the fact that you can only go to normal or low with the shadow quality instead of going to high, it just kind of sums up the rest of the feeling that this game isn't finished. It doesn't feel like a finished product. It looks like a tester or a beta or an alpha. It doesn't look like a finished product, and the options here kind of solidify that feeling. It doesn't feel finished. It looks like there's so much more that they could add to it. You've got your gameplay options here to make it a bit easier or a bit harder depending on how you want to go. I like the accessibility. What would be nice is if there was a colorblind mode. Now, I'm thankful to say that a lot of the colors don't seem like they mix when you're playing the match 3 part of this, but honestly, a colorblind mode with anything that's match 3 related is a absolute must have. Then you've got your dialogue options and you've got your audio options as well. Now, the soundtrack's not bad. It's very relaxing. The game feels like it wants to be a relaxing time, but again, it starts the volume at 100%. That's the options menu. A lot I'm not happy with, some things I am happy with. Let's look into the gameplay and see what that's all about, shall we? Alright, we're in the game. Now, as you can see, it is sort of like an open world area. There's all of these little help tips in the starting area that you can run across and will come up with a tutorial on the screen. Unfortunately, there's no way to switch these off once you've run over them. Like, I don't want them off from the start, but just a confirm button or something to allow me to say, yeah, no, I've seen this, I don't want to run over it and see it again. It gets really, really annoying. The textures in this game are not fantastic, and it seems like there's a bit of a mismatch in the graphics from the word go. Some things seem like they've had a lot more time taken on them than others. The introduction scene, you're introduced to this weird character that looks like just a few building blocks put together from like an early 90s PS1 title. And then as we look in at the characters that they've given you, they actually look pretty good. Like they've been styled, they've got a face, they're colourful. And then the world, it's the same. Like some areas look like they've had a lot of time put into them, and then others, like these rocks, just look horrendous and awful. You've got this sort of snap to screen or snap to center when you run, and it doesn't feel good because it doesn't matter what you're trying to do, it snaps to center. And if you then sort of switch it off, the camera doesn't follow you at all, but it still tries to move. It's not complete, it's not finished, it's not good. On top of that, you can change your characters to one of the three, but the game openly states that there is no point to doing that. It is just a cosmetic thing, which is a bit weird. And you've basically kind of got to try and work your way around this, find organisms, and do the Onyx link in order to sort of progress. Now, you've got this wall running feature, which doesn't feel good either because it feels really odd and it very clunky because I can't seem to get it so that I can wall jump sort of consecutively or properly. It seems like some surfaces I can wall jump on and others I can't. You don't really have like a very long jump either, which means a lot of these areas, once you get down, it can take you a while to get back up again, and that just leads to frustration. It's a mechanic that I don't quite understand why it's here. It doesn't seem to serve a purpose. It's annoying. Give me a double jump. A double jump would solve most of this, as opposed to having this weird wall running thing. It's a gimmick that doesn't work very well. And then my final issue is the actual sort of main chunk of the gameplay, which is the puzzle, which is your match 3. Now, I like the idea of it. I like the fact that it's very relaxing in that there's no time constraint. You get a number of goes and you've basically got to fill the bar up. It seems pretty legit, but finding these organisms is going to take you that long that you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to want to spend the time to find them to then sort of actually play the puzzle. Again, it just feels sort of, what's the point? Why am I doing this? It's not fun. It feels like the means to the end is lost. It feels like the game doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be one thing, but it's going about it in completely the wrong way. I feel that if they'd have just made this match free and just had it as the main game with like maybe a few cutscenes, it would have been better than trying to make it this open world RPG. Overall, I feel like this game is just lost potential. It doesn't feel good to play. It doesn't look good. It feels disjointed. It feels clunky. It doesn't feel like a title that is worth the price point. It doesn't feel like a finished game. It feels to me very much like a game that should have been introduced in early access. But there you go. That's Sephonie. Let me know in those comments down below what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.